My rich mother-in-law hates me for my poor background. She made a cruel joke, calling me a housekeeper at her party and posted a video online to humiliate me. But what my husband did shut her up. Hi everyone. I will call my husband Harry and my mother-in-law Olivia. I am 28 years old and have been married to Gary for about 2 years now, who is also 28. We were friends in college. We started dating after graduation when we met again at a party of mutual friends. We have been together for almost 4 years, including the time of marriage. Gary and I love each other and I have never regretted marrying him. But his mother I can't stand. Olivia raised Gary alone, which is worthy of respect, but she is arrogant and cold. From the start, she made it clear that she does not approve of me, probably because of my financial situation. I grew up poor. My father was a cleaner and my mother took any job to provide for me and my 3 sisters. We were never ashamed of our parents and are proud of their hard work and honesty. However, Olivia turned out to be a real snoot when she found out about my past. At dinner, she clearly showed her disapproval and from then on, she treated me differently. She even gave me separate, less exquisite cutlery during meals. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but over time, her behavior confirmed my fears. For example, she gave me cheap gifts for my birthday despite her wealth and left the price tags on, while she presented luxurious things to others. I hoped that over time she would accept me, but this did not happen, and the situation only got more complicated. Finally, a few months after the wedding, I decided to talk to Gary. I admitted that I was uncomfortable visiting his mother because she made me feel inferior. I had a feeling that this was connected with my family and my father's profession. Gary treated this with understanding and said that he would talk to Olivia to try to improve our relationship. He really tried, but it did not lead to anything. Olivia denied everything, even burst into tears, and claimed that she was always warm to me and that my accusations were unfounded. This only increased my mistrust of her. I realized that she was trying to manipulate us. I told Harry that I appreciated his efforts, but I still didn't feel comfortable around Olivia. We decided that he would continue to communicate with his mother, and I would avoid her and only meet her when I was ready. He didn't break off contact with her, but he distanced himself, and I knew that she hated me for it. After the wedding, I had little choice but to come to terms with the situation. Olivia and I only met at family events and avoided communication the rest of the time. This situation suited us both for a while. However, a few days ago, she texted me around noon that she was celebrating her 50th birthday and wanted me to come a few hours before the party because she wanted to improve our relationship. She said that I was right about her and that she had indeed behaved badly towards me in the past and wanted to fix everything. I agreed and came in advance, happy that she had finally started to accept me as a member of the family. But everything turned out completely differently. As soon as I arrived, she told me to wait in the kitchen. It was weird, but I did as she said. A little later, she went into the kitchen, introduced me to the staff as her housekeeper, and recorded the moment on video. I was shocked because even for her, this was a new low. To make things even worse, she laughed like it was the funniest joke in the world. The rest of the people present felt awkward too, and I was so humiliated that I started crying. I ran out of the house, got into the car, and drove back home. I wrote to Harry that I was going to Olivia's, but he was busy at work, so he didn't read my message and was planning to come to the party at the beginning. When I returned home, I was met by an empty house. It increased my feeling of loneliness and I just burst into tears and fell asleep. A couple of hours later, I woke up and Harry was already home. He was sitting next to me on the bed, furiously typing something on his phone. When I asked why he wasn't at the party, he showed me the video that his mother had posted online. It was the same recording she had taken with the caption that it was a bad joke. She cut the video before I started crying so it wouldn't look so bad but posted it anyway to humiliate me. I started crying again. Harry told me not to worry because he was doing everything he could to delete the video and promised to make his mother regret what she did. She didn't answer his texts or calls, she was probably busy with the party, but he knew she would call him soon to find out why he hadn't come yet. When it happened, he promised to teach her a lesson for life. And he kept his promise because about an hour after I woke up, Olivia actually called him. I can't repeat exactly what he said to her, but it was harsh. He ended the conversation by threatening to sue her for what she did to me. After talking to her on the phone, he apologized to me more than once for not doing enough when I first told him I felt uncomfortable around his mother. To be honest, I didn't blame him because when I first brought it up, I made it sound like it wasn't a big deal, so he didn't take it seriously. I also never told him about other incidents that were bothering me, and Harry isn't the most considerate or observant person, so he didn't notice it himself. I can't blame him for not breaking up with his mother because he had no idea how horrible she could be. But on the day of her party, I finally told him everything and he was furious. He said I should have told him sooner, and I agree, I really should have. He would never have let it get that far. He also apologized for being so indifferent and not noticing how his mother treated me. We talked it out, and then he called a lawyer to find out if there was a legal way to hold Olivia accountable for what she did. Unfortunately, we couldn't sue for emotional damages because her actions didn't cause any physical consequences. And even if we tried, it would most likely be a waste of time. I told Harry that it wasn't necessary and suggested that we just cut her out of our lives. But he said that wasn't enough. He wanted to teach her a lesson. I saw how angry he was for me and I loved him for it, so I didn't stop him. That day he didn't do anything, but the next morning he told me that he had contacted his mother and given her 3 days to publicly apologize, not only to me but to my family as well. And the apology had to be in video format. Otherwise, he promised that all her business partners would know how she treated me, and that could ruin her future because she had managed to build a career as a female entrepreneur. However, her behavior didn't reflect that at all. He said that this was the only way to teach Olivia a lesson so that she would never do that again and not try to bother me. I don't like this at all. Am I wrong to allow my husband to go against my mother-in-law? So, I suggest you write your opinion in the comments right now, and we'll move on to the update. Update 1. As many of you advised, I talked to Harry when he came home from work and told him about my feelings again. I understand that in this situation Olivia is the main culprit, but I don't want to stoop to her level to get revenge. I told him that I don't like the idea of using such methods just to make her apologize, especially since such an apology would mean nothing because she would just say it for show. So, I asked him to abandon this plan, to tell Olivia that no apology is required from her, and that she can do whatever she wants as long as she leaves us alone. Surprisingly, this time he didn't resist but burst into tears. I had to calm him down for a few minutes before he could tell me what upset him so much. As many of you have already suggested, he was trying to make up for his guilt for not taking the situation seriously and not dealing with it the first time I told him about Olivia. I realized that it was my fault too because I was trying so desperately to win her approval and get her to accept me, even though she hated me. But after watching the video, which had since been deleted, he realized how deep Olivia's problems were and felt a lot of guilt. He started channeling all that guilt into trying to get revenge on his mother instead of just listening to me and doing what I wanted. Our conversation helped him realize that he was making the same mistake again, not taking my feelings into account. I guess it's made worse by the fact that I'm a pretty passive person and literally can't stand up for myself. But we talked it out, and he texted Olivia that no apology was needed because he just didn't want to deal with her anymore, period. I'm really proud of both of us for handling the situation so well and making it us against the problem and not us against each other. Honestly, Harry and I care about each other very deeply, and that's why it was so hard for us to talk about our biggest issues. We need to work on this, so we decided to seek family counseling, a consultant, because we clearly need it. I have already started looking for a specialist, and I hope that we can start working on our marriage within the next week so that such situations do not happen again. It was one of the worst experiences of my life, and I do not want to feel again what I felt a couple of days ago. I am very glad that Harry decided to break up with Olivia because I do not think I could see her again and resist the urge to beat all the arrogance out of her. I won't do this, but I hope someone will. Update 2. The second week has passed since the party, and Olivia hasn't tried to contact us in any way. After Harry gave her the ultimatum, she didn't even respond when he told her that he was rescinding his demand and no longer expecting an apology. We realized that something was wrong and she was clearly planning something serious because Olivia is not the type to just leave everything as is. However, days passed and she didn't do anything, so we were already starting to forget about this story. But today she finally showed up at our house and she came with her lawyer. When I opened the door, she walked in without even looking at me as if I wasn't there at all. Then she started calling for Harry, demanding that he come out to her in the living room. It looked stupid because Harry was in our bedroom and I was going to go and call him anyway, so she didn't need to yell at all. When Harry showed up in the living room, Olivia told him to sit on the couch. This was incredibly annoying to us because she acted as if she was at home and was giving orders in our house. Harry told her that he would do whatever he wanted and that he didn't want to talk to her right now, so she'd better leave. He also told her to get her lawyer because it didn't scare him at all. But Olivia wasn't going to give in and insisted that he sit down, claiming that he'd be interested to hear what she had to say. I told Harry to just listen to her because I wanted her to leave quickly, and that wasn't going to happen until she said what she was up to. I just wanted to get this over with, even if it meant we had to listen to her legal threats or something. Harry sat down on the couch and I sat down next to him to show her who was boss. She could ignore me as much as she wanted, but it was our house and she needed to know her place. She continued to ignore me and then told her lawyer to come over and read out the terms of the document she had prepared. He started to basically explain that she wanted Harry to divorce me, because otherwise she would cut him out of the will and give all her property to other family members, her employees, and to charity. There was a list of real estate and assets that she indicated, most likely to scare Harry and make him think about what he was losing by staying with me. But he looked completely indifferent while the lawyer read the list. It seemed that Harry was bored because he was twisting the ring on my finger and not even listening. When the lawyer finished reading the document, Olivia asked Harry if he had time to think about what he was going to do now. After all, if he stayed with me he could say goodbye to her inheritance forever. And then, the funniest thing happened. Update 3. Harry stood up, walked over to his mother, hugged her tightly and said, "Goodbye, Mom." It was so funny when her triumphant expression turned to shock that I couldn't help but laugh. That was the moment she finally acknowledged my existence, and then suddenly attacked me. She told me to shut up and started throwing a tantrum, calling me all sorts of words I won't even repeat. I didn't answer her. I pretended not to hear her because I knew that would only make her angrier. Even Harry didn't argue with her when she started yelling at me. He just said, "We'd better go back to our room. This could drag on and watching her break down is pretty awkward." We both spoke to each other absolutely calmly as if she wasn't even there, completely ignoring her wild screams and curses. We got up to leave just to piss her off even more, but Olivia wasn't done. She accused me of being a gold digger. She ranted that she should never have approved of our marriage, that she should have realized from the start that I was only with Harry because my father was, in her opinion, too worthless to earn money himself. That was too much. She has no idea how hard my father worked for us, and I will not allow anyone to humiliate him. I didn't argue with her, I just calmly said, "My husband just rejected you for me, despite all your wealth, so now I definitely can't be a gold digger. I'm a working woman. I don't take money from my husband. I achieve everything myself. So, you don't even know what you're talking about." Then, I told her to leave my house or I'd call the police. She finally left, but her visit left a bad taste in my mouth. It was incredibly unpleasant, but at least now things were clear. Now she knows not to mess with us. I hope she takes that into account and finally leaves us alone. Update 4. Hi guys, I'm posting here again because Olivia did something so mean and vile that I can't believe she thought she could get away with it. It's been about 2 weeks since she last visited us. Since she hadn't tried to contact us or take any action, Harry and I thought that this stage was finally over and that we could get back to normal life. Not so. About an hour ago, I got a call from my parents. They were shaken. Olivia had come to their house and it was terrible. She burst into their home and started insulting them, calling them bad parents who raised a greedy, cunning bitch. Yes, that's what she called me. She ranted about me, but that's not even what hurt me the most. She told my mother that if she had spent more time at home raising us instead of trying to make money, then maybe we would have turned out better. And of course, she humiliated my father again, mocking his profession, saying that she shouldn't have allowed her only son to marry a woman from a family like ours. She sneered, "Considering that your father is used to cleaning up other people's trash, it's no wonder his daughters turned out to be so dirty." My parents were almost in tears when they told me everything she had said, and I just couldn't hold back my anger. Even now, just thinking about how she yelled at my parents in their own house makes my blood boil. I'm writing this from work, so I can't do anything right now. But the second my shift is over, I am going to Olivia's house, and I will tell her everything I think about her. She definitely deserves it. I immediately texted Harry about what happened as soon as I found out, but he's busy at work and hasn't answered yet. To be honest, I don't want him to accompany me, but I did warn him, just so he wouldn't be surprised when Olivia inevitably calls him crying after I give her a piece of my mind. Update 5. Hello. Now I'm home. I got back from Olivia's about 3 hours ago, and to be honest, it was incredibly satisfying to finally yell at her and say everything I've wanted to say for so long. She wasn't even surprised when I showed up at her house. She opened the door herself and smirked smugly, and at that moment, I exploded. She didn't even need to say anything to make me angry. I was already boiling with rage. I pushed her aside and stormed into her house. Then, without hesitation, I demanded to know, "Is it true? Did you go to my parents' house and say all those horrible things to them?" She answered yes, and she sounded pleased with herself. I wanted to wipe that smirk off her face. I screamed at her as loud as I could. I swear I thought the house shook. Final update. I asked her, "How could you?" She was so taken aback by the volume of my voice that she actually took a few steps back. Now that I think about it, it seems comical, but at that moment she was genuinely shocked. I'm usually calm and gentle in communication. I try not to yell. Even I was surprised at how loud I had gotten, but I didn't stop. I called her a yardstick and a pathetic excuse for a human being. I told her she had completely failed as a mother because she never once put Harry's happiness above her own ambitions. That was why she was going out of her way to ruin our marriage. But luckily for her, she couldn't, because Harry and I love each other, unlike her, because she doesn't even know what that word means. It was a low blow, but I also told her that I was glad her husband died when Harry was little, because if he had lived, he probably wouldn't have been able to stand being with her. I told her she was worse than any disease he could have suffered from, and that was the moment she started crying. But I wasn't done yet. I yelled at her for a few more minutes, until she completely broke down. By the time she was inconsolable, I felt satisfied. Because after everything she had done, after how she made me feel worthless, after she humiliated my family, and worst of all, after she insulted my parents who had nothing to do with any of this, she deserved it. A few minutes after she started crying, I turned around and walked out of her house. I went straight home. What happened after? About an hour after I got home, Harry walked in. He told me that he had finished work early, but he didn't come home right away. He went to Olivia's first, thinking I was still there, but I had just left. When he arrived, the front door was open, and the moment he stepped inside, he saw Olivia, curled up on the couch, sobbing. Normally, he would have been upset with me for bringing her to tears. Olivia rarely expressed emotions, let alone cried, but instead he looked at me and said, "I'm proud of you." He told me he was glad I finally stood up for myself, that he was glad I wouldn't let anyone humiliate me again. Then he hugged me and apologized for everything his mother had said to my parents. The final conversation. Before Harry came home, he had a short conversation with Olivia, probably the last conversation they'll ever have. She repeated everything I said to her, including my words about Harry's father. She expected Harry to finally take her side. She expected him to say that I had crossed all boundaries, that he was going to leave me, but he disappointed her, again. Because instead he simply said, "I don't find it offensive. You've said much worse things about her family. Frankly, you deserved it." That set her off. She screamed at him. She accused him of not appreciating her, of only taking my side because I was pretending to be soft and innocent. But Harry shut that down immediately. "That's not why I take her side," he told her. "I take her side because she's right. She never tried to hurt you. She never tried to make you feel worse. You did that to her, over and over again. And even when you had a chance to make things right, you didn't take it. Instead, you turned the tables and tried to manipulate the situation. So now you can't complain. You had plenty of chances to fix things with her, but you chose not to. Now that she's finally standing up for herself, you don't get to play the victim. You don't get to paint her as the villain." Then Harry turned around and walked out. Even though Olivia screamed after him, even though she threatened him, even though she demanded he come back, he didn't stop. He didn't care anymore. Harry and I have decided that we will completely cut Olivia off. If she tries to reach out to us again, we will file for a restraining order. We are still going to continue with family counseling because it has been helping us, and we want to keep improving. But now at least we know for sure. We will always support each other. And really, that's all I ever wanted. Final thoughts. So what do you guys think? Honestly, I believe I did everything right in this situation. Olivia brought all of this upon herself. Some people might argue that I went too far, but wasn't she the one who started all of this? And can you imagine? What if Harry had divorced me? What if he had come back with some actual gold digger next time? That would have been karma at its finest. Not that I wanted that to happen, of course, but just imagine the irony. Anyway, thank you for reading this all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this story, and as always, good luck to you.